These are the best gravel tyres, as recommended by our team of expert testers here at BikeRadar. If you're interested in learning more about any of the tyres featured in this video, then check the links down in the video description. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe and click the little bell icon so you get notified every time we upload a new video. So before we get into any of the reviews, I'm going to quickly go over what to consider when buying a gravel tyre. First up is your riding and terrain expectations. Gravel is a very broad term which covers many different styles of riding. Some people like to race, while others like multi-day bikepacking, where the emphasis is on drinking in the view rather than suffering in a pack. Those wanting to go faster may opt for a more supple tyre for the least rolling resistance possible, whereas bikepackers would most likely opt for something wider to increase comfort. They're also looking out for a tyre which offers greater punch protection during those epic days out in the saddle. The next thing to consider is tread pattern. If you often ride on smooth surfaces, then you may get away with choosing a tyre with a low profile tread. However, those who ride over more aggressive terrain or like riding in the mud, like me, you might look out for tyres with more pronounced tread and larger shoulder knobs. So think carefully about where you ride and the conditions you're most likely to encounter. Wheel size is another important consideration. Gravel bikes use either 700C or 650B wheels, so be sure to pick the right tyre size. Smaller 650B wheels will usually leave more room for wider tyres. However, don't forget to check your bike's tyre clearances before taking the plunge. Finally, it's worth looking into the balancing act of casing type, puncture protection and TPI, which stands for threads per inch. As we've already mentioned, a more supple tyre with a lighter casing will usually roll faster. However, it won't have as much punch protection. That being said, the heavier casing means the tyre will have more rolling resistance, which is not ideal if you're a racer. The higher the TPI, the more supple the tyre. So if you want the fastest tyre possible, you might be looking for a model with a TPI around the 120 to 320 mark. If you want something much stronger, albeit marginally slower, the TPI value is usually around 60. So with all of that out of the way, let's get on to the tyres. Pirelli have been in the tyre game a long time, but it's only relatively recently that they've started producing dedicated tyres for bikes. Although any perceived lack of experience hasn't stopped them from creating what we think is one of the best all-round gravel tyres available, the Cinturato Gravel M. The aggressive tread features widely spaced angular knobs with a smoother central line. This provides a great balance of rolling resistance on smoother surfaces with grip and mud shedding when the trails get tough. You also get a sturdy, reinforced sidewall that helps the tyre maintain rigidity at lower pressures and avoids any squirmy sensations or rim damage. With no fewer than 5 widths across 700C and 650B wheel sizes, as well as black or tan sidewall options, there should be a Pirelli Cinturato out there for even the most picky of gravelistas. In summary, the highs are the super grippy compound, impressive punch resistance and sturdy, confidence-inspiring ride. The lows are, well, not much. The only thing we can think of is that they can be tricky to seat tubeless during setup. All in all, one of the best gravel tyres we've tested. If your favourite flavour of gravel involves loose, dry conditions, perhaps a little bit of wet, but absolutely no mud, then the GR1 team issue from Bontrager could be the tyre for you. As you can see, it has a tightly packed, low-profile block tread that makes it roll well when it's dry. Built on a 120 TPI casing, the GR1 includes lightweight nylon inserts in its construction for extra sidewall protection. We also found them easy to set up tubeless on the Mavic All-Road Pro wheels that we tested them on. And if you know anything about seating tubeless tyres, it's not always as easy as it's meant to be. So kudos to Bontrager for getting it right with the GR1s. Once pumped up, the tyre has a fairly rounded shape, which gives them wonderfully consistent handling, with predictable transitions from upright to any cornering angle. It's worth mentioning they roll nicely on tarmac as well, so they could make for a decent multi-use tyre. In summary, the highs are its performance in dry and loose conditions, while the lows are the relative lack of performance in mud and wet. Another tyre well suited to dry and fast conditions is the Terra Speed from Continental. As you can see, it has shallow lugs, which helps to unlock some speed, even on tarmac roads. The trade-off, however, is its less grip compared with some other tyres on the test. That's not to say they can't be used on damp trails, as they do hold up, but they wouldn't be our first choice for cutting through deep mud. When it comes to wear and tear, the Terra Speeds have held up fairly well. We used 2 sets and logged over 3,500 kilometres on them, with only 1 puncture in all of that time. However, if you do lots of tarmac riding in between your gravel excursions, then in our experience, you'll only get around 2,500 kilometres out of the rear before it needs replacing. By no means a deal breaker, but worth noting nonetheless. In summary, the highs are the Terra's outright speed for fast, dryish rides and its reliability. The lows are, it's not ideal for mud and has limited options in wider sizes. The Rambler was Maxxis' first foray into gravel tyres, and as you'd expect from such a knowledgeable brand, they did an amazing job straight out of the block. The tyre is quick, with low-profile blocks packed tightly down the centre and larger shoulder knobs for cornering. Weighing in at 375 grams, it's also a fair bit lighter than many of its competitors. When it comes to punch protection, Maxxis spec the Rambler with their 120 TPI EXO casing. If you know anything about Maxxis' mountain bike tyre range, you'll know the EXO casing is incredibly popular and does a great job of protecting the sidewalls of the tyre. So we'd feel confident recommending the Rambler if you ride on rough or cut-up surfaces. In summary, the highs are the lightweight yet tough casing, which is best suited to a smoother dirt or gravel. The lows are, well, like many of the tyres on this list, they're not the best in mud. If you're a racer looking for one of the fastest gravel tyres around, then the Schwalbe G-One R should be high on your list. It features a dense, fine tread pattern with closely spaced knobs and no defined shoulder. This means its straight line speed is up there with the best, and it's supple enough to provide some comfort as well. Although, as you'd expect, the fine tread and lack of pronounced shoulder knobs means it wouldn't be great on wet or technical terrain. Schwalbe spec the G-One R with their Super Race carcass. This does offer some decent punch protection, but we recommend looking for something more robust if you're mainly planning on bikepacking or multi-day epics. In summary, the highs are the all-round speed and decent punchable resistance for a dedicated race tyre. We also found them easy to fit. The lows, they're not the toughest or the best in mud and are significantly pricier than other gravel tyres. Now onto something a little less mainstream with Teravail's Rutland, Light and Supple. The first thing we want to mention about this tyre is it's one of the easiest to set up tubeless. We even managed to inflate it with a regular truck pump, and that's mighty impressive considering other tyres often need a compressed air canister or some sort of dedicated tubeless pump. The tyre is designed to be a 4-season all-rounder. It has widely spaced transition lugs on its side to aid mud shedding and additional grip in the wet. While it doesn't look as aggressive as other winter tyres, we found that it really does deliver even in properly wet or muddy conditions. We gave it a rare 5 out of 5 stars in our review for its balance of grip and speed, so if you're looking for a tyre that can do everything well, this one comes highly recommended. Spend any time with our road tech editor, Simon von Bromley, and you'll soon come to realise Vittoria makes some of the fastest road tyres around. So it comes as no surprise that the brand's gravel tyre, the Terreno Dry, generates speed incredibly well. It has a semi-slick tread down the middle with larger shoulder knobs, meaning it holds its own well in wet conditions. Deep mud may still be too much, but on things like wet routes, the Terreno Dry gives a surprising amount of grip. However, we did find the lightweight TLR casing was susceptible to damage during testing. So we'd recommend the TNT version of the Terreno as it has a reinforced sidewall and tread, giving far better punch protection on gravel. In summary, the highs are its speed and grip, even in wet conditions, make it one of the best gravel tyres on the market. The lows are the relatively fragile TLR casing. So far, most of the tyres in this video focus on speed and work best in dry, less technical conditions. The WTB Resolute sits at the other end of the spectrum, being ideal for rowdier, more technical off-road riding. The tread pattern features smallish, square knobs that are tightly spaced down the centre. On the outside, they become more wide-set, giving that all-important bite in tricky terrain, and loads of confidence when you lean them over in corners. As you'd expect, this means the Resolute isn't ideal for road riding, feeling a fair bit draggier than most of the other faster tyres on this test. But hey, you can't have every feature on one tyre, so this kind of compromise is to be expected. In summary, the highs are its excellent grip off-road and performance on rocky terrain. The lows, as we just mentioned, are its relative lack of speed on tarmac. So that was the top 8 gravel tyres in no particular order. But we're not done yet, as we've got 3 more that are still worth considering, even though they might not be up there with the very best. So firstly, if you're looking for something a little bit more racy, then the Panaracer Gravel King SK3 is a versatile all-rounder that's aimed at smoother trails and pavement. We found it comfortable and speedy, but weren't totally convinced by its ability at cornering. Next, if you live in a rocky landscape, the WTB Nano impressed us at how it handled on rockier terrain. Felix raced the Rift in Iceland with the Nano, and while he wasn't vying for a podium place, they seriously impressed him. They have a repurposed mountain bike tread pattern, so its off-road performance is particularly good. However, the trade-off is they're not the quickest on tarmac. Finally, the Schwalbe G-One Bites, which I've actually been riding over the last year or so on a Canyon Grail, and they are great all-round tyres. They're built to handle the muddier, wetter terrain, and I'm yet to overwhelm them. However, you might find it sluggish on smoother gravel. So well done if you made it this far. You truly are a dedicated gravel tyre nerd, and for that, we salute you. If you'd like to see a full buyer's guide with all the gravel tyre nerdy details, then please let us know and we'll do our best to film it in the future. So what do you think of our list? Did we tire you out? Dreadful pun included. Did we miss out on any of your favourite tyres? Let us know in the comments. And finally, don't forget to like, subscribe and click the little bell icon so every time we upload a new video, you get a notification.